Good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in to Night TV.
Talk to me.
I want to say Merry Early Christmas in case you guys don't see my face again before then. 'Tis the season for giving, but your presence is enough. You being here watching this video gives me so much to be thankful for and to look forward to. So I just want to say thank you again as we delve into the case of Kenneth Andrew Lynch. Stick around for more details. Before we dig into today's case, I just need to say what's on my heart. Recent activity on my page has showed me that I'm definitely not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm not trying to be. That's okay. This genre isn't for everybody. My style of presentation is not for everybody, and I'm not trying to be like anybody else. So if you're here and you're genuinely interested in the cases that I cover and my perspective on the inmates that I dealt with and the people who committed these crimes, then thank you. I have nothing negative to say. Regardless of your stance on the matter, I just wanted to say that I realize this is a competitive environment. YouTube is something else, and people come and they nitpick on what they want and what they don't want. If I'm not what you want, I'm okay with that. If I am and you're giving me a chance, then thank you. That being said, let's get into today's case because it's a lot to cover in a little bit of time. And this one, you're going to want to turn your heartstrings on because it's involving a baby, and I promise you it is a heavy one. I know I've said that about a few different cases, but the ones involving children are really just particularly gruesome and heinous to me. So you be the judge of that, okay? As usual, I have my notes here. Nothing has changed. So if you see me looking away, I'm not distracted. I'm just trying to be accurate, okay, and valid. So Portia Washington, who was 53 years old at the time, and her 7-year-old granddaughter, Angelica Cassandra Livingston, went missing from the Park Place Apartments in West Columbia, South Carolina on June 10th, 2006. Also missing was Portia's live-in boyfriend, Kenneth Andrew Lynch, along with her 2005 Ford Focus with South Carolina license plate 628SEH. In a strange turn of events, Lynch was cited for speeding in El Paso, Texas, with the exception of Portia and Cassandra, who were nowhere to be found. Lynch would then withdraw all of the money in his bank account before traveling to Seattle, Washington to attempt to board a bus into Canada. Portia's car was found at that same bus station with the license plates removed. He claimed that she had given him the car when in reality she had never even allowed him to drive it. He was then arrested for grand theft auto and extradited back to South Carolina to face charges. By this point, it had become evident that Portia and Cassandra were missing, and they had no physical evidence to tie anyone to the case aside from Kenneth being in possession of her car. He declined to participate in the investigation, and so in September, charges were officially filed on him because the investigation was set to proceed. Both Portia and Cassandra were determined to have been murdered when a mixture of Cassandra and Kenneth's blood was found smeared into the carpet. It would be a full 2 years in June 2008 before Kenneth was charged with any crime, especially murder. Charges had been delayed in the pursuit of further evidence to even call this a crime because there were no bodies, and the only physical evidence they had was that mixture of blood, which in reality was enough. And they also had Lynch sitting in jail on those grand theft auto charges. Aside from that, there was nothing else. Portia was described as a reliable and church-going woman who was also a devoted grandmother. She even slept on the floor on a mattress so that Angelica could have a bed, presumably alongside Lynch, who was her live-in boyfriend. Let me step on my soapbox here for a second. Ladies, you can do bad by yourself. If a man has you sleeping on the floor in a one-bedroom apartment on a mattress, what do you need him for? But I digress. This was shaping up to be a horrible, horrible experience for all, especially that little girl who was only 7 years old at the time. Getting back into the case, Lynch was described as abusive, and Washington had even told him at one point in time that he made her life into a hellhole. Regardless of that, she was known to always be current on her bills, but after June of 2006, she never paid another one. It's painfully evident that the relatives of Portia and Cassandra led police in the direction of Lynch. And I'll read an excerpt here from an article by WIS-TV where it says, investigators are confident in the evidence they have gathered for the case. They add that Plenty of evidence has appeared in the last year alone, and that it will be enough to prove Lynch guilty of a double murder. We have evidence that we believe proves that he's responsible for the disappearance and their death, brothers said. Lynch's cooperation with the case has been none, according to brothers. Mr. Lynch has never spoken with us. He still hasn't spoken with us, and we don't know where those bodies are, brothers said. Officials say Lynch showed up in hotels in Mississippi and Arizona, and even got a speeding ticket in Texas. They also believe Lynch may have tried to get into Mexico at some point. So he was definitely on the run. And I don't know what his point was, what he was trying to prove. But brother, if you were trying to get away with something, being a flight risk was not the way to do it. A concerned boyfriend does not run off in the height of an investigation of the disappearance of his girlfriend and her granddaughter. Come on, sir. To sum all of that up, despite not having found the bodies, Lynch was still charged and convicted for the murders of Portia and Cassandra. He waived his right to a jury trial, preferring to have a bench trial where he just went in front of a judge. He faced the death penalty, but ended up receiving life in prison without the possibility of parole. True justice. And not to get in a battle of wits about the death penalty, I believe that if it's warranted, give it to the person. But I also believe that them sitting in a prison for the rest of their lives to just think about what they have done, specifically to a child, is justice in itself. I mean, it's easy to kill somebody and let them take the easy way out and face whatever justice they're going to face in the life beyond this one. But to have to just sit there and to wallow in your evil deeds, I believe that's true justice. I don't know about you guys. Let me know in the comments what you think. But that's where I stand on the matter. One positive of this whole horrific act was that the Cassandra Angelica Foundation was created in Angelica's honor with the motto, positive people doing positive things in a positive way. I love that. I think that is such a good way to put a spin on something that was just meant to go for harm instead of good. I mean, what a way to rally together to honor this baby's memory. And if you would like to donate, please use the information on your screen. I think it's a worthy cause. I'll be doing that myself. But that's going to wrap up the case of Kenneth Andrew Lynch and the murder of Portia Washington and her granddaughter Cassandra Livingston. If you guys felt anything about this, let me know. I mean, this one tugged at my heartstrings. She was such a beautiful little girl, and they didn't deserve that. I mean, a child is innocent. Whatever you're going to do, sir, do that to yourself. Don't subject people to your inner demons. But, you know, I could get carried away with that. I tried my best to just look the other way when I was working in the prison. But sometimes I would look at people and I would wonder how you expect so many rights and privileges when you just took the life of somebody away without a thought or a care. Regardless of the fact that they haven't found any bodies, you know what you did. Why did you leave with this woman's car if you didn't do anything? Why have they not been found to this day? Cassandra would have been 23, and I believe Portia would have been 69, if I'm not mistaken. And that's just me looking on the CHARLEY Project. I don't know if that information is up to date. I didn't bother to do the math, but you guys get the point. So in true Night TV fashion, I have to tell you guys my thoughts on Kenneth Lynch. I did meet him when I was transferred to Broad River Correctional Institution in January of this year. He was on my caseload. He was also on the character unit with the likes of Todd Colehep and Johnny Register, who we've talked about previously. He worked in the cafeteria. He was really a quiet guy. He would come in and, you know, go to his room. You never really saw him hanging around. He wasn't one of those extra social people. The difference between the women and the men's institutions for me was that you could see the day room from the office when you were at the women's institution. To see the day room when you were at the male institution, you would actually have to walk onto the pods. I didn't do that often, only sometimes when I needed to count. But Kenneth did come into my office a few times. And I found out what we had in common was the fact that we both were from Jersey City, New Jersey. He told me he had gone to Snyder High School and he had gone to PS 34 where my mom attended. And his family still lives in Jersey City to this day. I believe on the block where I came home from the hospital and was raised for the first 5 years of my life. Don't get me to lying, but I do believe he said Stevens Avenue. And that's what caught my attention about him. I don't like to just harp on what people did. So, and you know, that wasn't my conversation whenever he came into the office. It was usually for a review, something professional, but he would come in sometimes and we would discuss that, and he would give me his little memories about Jersey City. And all the while I was just looking at him, trying to keep it professional, trying to keep my opinions to myself. But that one right there, that one hit me in a way that a lot of these cases, they don't hit me, but that one hit me in the feels, because this was a little girl. And not only that, this little girl's body has never been found, and along with her grandmother. You know, that's just the cruelest of the cruel. And you almost pulled off the perfect crime, because really, it's very rare for a person to receive a conviction with no body. But there were 2 bodies missing, and he still was convicted to life in prison. And he accepts that, because deep down, he may never say it aloud, but this man knows what he did. He knows that he committed these acts, but he'll never tell. He'll never tell where those bodies are. I do believe that he feels like if he does, then he doesn't have a bargaining chip anymore. They might put the death penalty on the table, but that's double jeopardy in his mind. But it's really not, because double jeopardy only implies for being charged for the same case. If new evidence is presented, then sir, you could be tried again. But somebody, who gonna tell him? Who gonna tell him? Not me. But he is a quiet man. He has a quiet demeanor. He's kind of a looming presence. He's very, very tall, and he just comes in. He does what he needs to do. You don't hear much for him, which is very rare. Very rare, because a lot of people are boisterous. A lot of people don't know to keep their head down. It's like they're trying to make a name for themselves, although they've already made a name for themselves by doing these vicious acts. But again, who's gonna tell them? Not me. But Kenneth, he was okay by me. He was all right. You know, he never gave me any issues. He was never disrespectful. As a matter of fact, I can't say that a vast majority of them were disrespectful. You know, you'll hear that a lot. That's going to be a running theme on this page, because I pride myself on giving respect where respect is due. And I also pride myself on having earned the respect and made a rapport with the people that I was tasked with working with. So you're not going to hear a lot of negative as far as I am concerned. Now, I can tell you some negative things that they've done, but he doesn't have any disciplinaries like that. Like I said before, the character unit, you have to have a certain criteria. So he wouldn't fit that criteria had he been a disciplinary problem. And the character unit kind of speaks for itself. The name implies what it is. So you kind of get that. But he's just who he is. He's not what he did. You know, I have to remember that, because we all make mistakes. That's a big mistake. That's an irreversible mistake, but a mistake nonetheless. But I'm going to end this video here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a like, a comment. So tell somebody to subscribe. You know, we're trying to grow this channel. We're trying to bring the content. We're trying to bring the diversity. I'm trying to do true crime in a different way, because all you see is the same themes and the same presentation styles. And I just don't want that for this channel. Like I said in the beginning, I'm not for everybody, and I understand that. I respect that. But those of you who are here, you have my respect. I hope I have yours. Have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. I'll see you guys soon.